डेमोक्रेट रुकने कांग्रेस इल्हान उमर ने सदर ट्रंप की एजाजी पासपोर्ट पर तंजिया तबसरा किया। कहा, कोई इन्हें बताए कि पासपोर्ट पर कोई भी इनकी शक्ल देखना नहीं चाहता।
I think that is horrifying. Can you imagine, like, pulling out your passport and having to look at his face, or other people see his face on your passport? Yes, I know that feels very gross, and I know that he is obsessed with himself. The man thinks he's Jesus, so somebody needs to humble him and tell him that nobody wants his face on their passport.
डेमोक्रेटिक रुकन सारा जेकब्स के सवाल पर अमरीकी वज़ीर जंग ने जवाबी सवाल दाग दिया। डेमोक्रेटिक रुकन सारा जेकब ने सवाल किया, क्या ट्रंप की जहनी हालत ऐसी है कि वो कमांडर इन चीफ की जिम्मेदारी निभा सके? इस पर पीट हेक्सेट ने जवाबी सवाल किया कि आपने यही सवाल 4 साल तक जो बाइडेन के बारे में पूछा था।
Military families concerned about the president's mental fitness and whether he's fit to serve as our commander-in-chief. You are with the president a lot. Do you believe that the president is mentally stable enough to be the commander-in-chief?
Did you ask the same question of Joe Biden for 4 years?
Mind you, that when there were concerns, Democrats came together, and he was not our nominee for president. So I encourage you to have the same courage that Democrats had. Mr. Secretary, you keep saying that he is the best commander-in-chief we've ever had, the best negotiator.
Talk to the troops.
13 American troops have died. More than 380 have been wounded. The Strait of Hormuz, which was wide open, is now closed. Less than 90% of traffic through the strait is still not going despite the ceasefire. The Iranian regime is still in power. It still has nuclear material.
यूएन सेक्रेटरी जनरल का आबना हुर्मुज़ में जहाज रानी की आज़ादी महदूद होने पर तशवीश का इजहार। एंटोनियो गुतेरेस ने कहा कि तवानाई, ट्रांसपोर्ट, सनत, खुराक की आलमी मंडियाँ मुतासिर हो रही हैं। पूरी इंसानियत आबना हुर्मुज़ की बंदिश की कीमत चुका रही है। अगर पाबंदियां आज ख़त्म हो जाएं तो सप्लाई चेन्स की बहाली में महीनों लगेंगे। अगर पाबंदियां ख़त्म ना हुई तो आलमी शरह नमू 3.4 से कम होकर 3.1% हो जाएगी। आबना हुर्मुज़ की बंदिश ख़त्म ना हुई तो महंगाई 3.8 से बढ़कर 4.4% हो जाएगी। अगर तातुल वस्त साल तक जारी रहा तो आलमी शरह नमू 2.5% रह जाएगी। महंगाई 5.4% तक पहुँचेगी। 3 करोड़ 20 लाख अफराद गुर्बत में धकेले जाएंगे। 4 करोड़ 50 लाख अफराद शदीद भूख का शिकार होंगे। अगर बहरान साल के आखिर तक बरकरार रहा तो महंगाई 6% से तजावुज़ कर जाएगी। आलमी शरह नमू 2% तक गिर जाएगी, जिससे दुनिया के कमज़ोर तबकात शदीद मुतासर होंगे। दुनिया को संगीन आलमी कसाद बाजारी, मौशी, समाजी और सियासी अदम इस्तेहकाम का सामना हो सकता है।
को खबर देंगे कि खत्ते में मौजूदा सूरत हाल के बायस मुत्तहदा अरब अमारात की हुकूमत ने बड़ा फैसला किया है। अमाराती शहरियों पर ईरान, लबनान और इराक के लिए सफरी पाबंदियों का ऐलान किया। यूएई हुकाम का कहना है कि शहरी ईरान, इराक और लबनान से जल्द वापस आ जाएं। मुत्तहदा अरब अमारात की जानिब से बड़ा फैसला किया गया, बड़ा इक़दाम उठाया गया अमाराती शहरियों के लिए। अमाराती शहरियों पर ईरान, लबनान, इराक के लिए सफरी पाबंदियों का ऐलान कर दिया गया। यूएई हुकाम का ये कहना है कि शहरी ईरान, इराक और लबनान से जल्द वापस आ जाएंगे। खित्ते में मौजूदा सूरत हाल के बायस मुत्तहदा अरब अमारात की जानिब से बड़ा इक़दाम उठाया गया।
You just looked at some tariffs on whiskey? Is that correct?
Yeah, what I'm doing is for as long as I've been here, they've wanted to, Kentucky, which is a great place, and I also won Jason by a lot. But Kentucky, with the bourbon, and Scotland with the whiskey, and they've had trade for years and years and years, and a lot of restrictions, a lot of different restrictions took place that didn't amount to much, and it really stopped them. I don't know if you know, it's a barrel trade. They use the barrels from the one to take care of the other, and the barrels are only good for one unit. In other words, they can't be used twice. They can only be used once, but the once makes it a better substance. I'm not a big drinker, so forgive me, but it makes them a big substance and a better taste. But they dealt for years. This was Scotland and Kentucky, mostly Kentucky. And I just took all the restrictions off, so Scotland and Kentucky can start dealing again. And I did it in honor of the king and queen who just left. They're heading back, and it was a big deal. They've been trying to get this for a long time.
Yes, Mr. President, you talked about possibly pulling out some troops out of Germany. Would you be considering the same thing for Spain and Italy? I mean, they haven't been exactly on board.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably will. Why should I? Look, why shouldn't I? Italy has not been of any help to us, and Spain has been horrible, absolutely horrible. It's NATO. It's not even the fact that they're bad. It's one thing if they said nicely, or if they said, okay, we'll help, but the help's a little slow. But the level, and we helped them with Ukraine. They made a mess out of Ukraine, a total mess. And we helped them with Ukraine. Ukraine has nothing to do, we're an ocean apart. It has to do with them. It's like for them, it's their front door. We helped them. And Biden gave them $350 billion, which was insane. It's one of the reasons the war went on. But when we needed them, they were not there. We have to remember that. And so if we ever have a big one, because we didn't need any help with Iran. We had Iran right from the first day. It was over. It was over. And now it's even more so. We're so locked and loaded if we want to do. But we didn't need the help. And to a certain extent, I asked them, I didn't need the help, but I said, yeah, we'd love to have you help, because I wanted to see if they do it. And they, in all cases, they said, we don't want to get involved. And the amazing thing is they use the Strait of Hormuz. We don't. We don't use it. We don't need it. We have a lot of oil. Well, wait a minute. Oh. And they use it, we don't. And you would have thought they would have said, we would love to help you. But they didn't, which I think was a verse. And Germany, he's doing a terrible job. He's got immigration problems. He's got energy problems. He's got problems of all kinds. And he's got a big problem with Ukraine, because they're in that mess. And he criticized me for doing the whole thing with Iran. But I said, would you like to have a nuclear weapon in the hands of Iran? He said, no, I don't. I said, well, then I guess I'm right. He didn't have any answer to that. The bottom line is, for this world, for our country, but certainly for Israel, the Middle East, and Europe, much closer, you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And if you agree that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, which most people agree, almost everybody, it should have been done a long time ago. But if you agree they can't have a nuclear weapon, then what I did has been executed perfectly, because our military has decimated them. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, two questions for you. Aleena Shirazi from the Daily Mail. You have called this the new regime before in Iran, but I speak to Iranians on a daily basis, and they tell me that these are the same people that have murdered them, executed them, repressed them. I talked to them through the blackout, and they wanted me to ask you this question. And second of all, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, how come he's not involved in these conversations?
Oh, he's very much involved. Marco is he's negotiating with them all the time. Look, Iran killed 42,000 people over the last 2 months, protesters. They were going to kill 8 women whose lives I saved, and I appreciate that they didn't do it. I asked them not to do it. They didn't do it. They were getting ready to hang the women. They were going to hang 8 beautiful women that were... it just caught the imagination of a lot of people. People were talking about it. It was inconceivable. You saw those 8 beautiful people, and they were going to be executed that evening. This was a week ago. And I got on the phone very quickly, and I said, don't do it, don't do it. The whole world is watching, don't do it. And they didn't do it. I appreciate it. I guess 4 were released, and the other 4 are going to be released in a month. They were ready to be executed that night. So they take a tough, they knocked out the wrestler they killed. They killed the wrestler's teammates. He was a world champion wrestler, too. He was a great wrestler, great, talented wrestler. They killed him because he protested. He spoke. He wasn't wrestling. What he did is he spoke negatively about the regime, and they killed him. They executed him, along with his friends. They killed 42,000 people. So when you say about, they say that I do the same, I don't do the same. I'm trying to save that country in a certain way, and nobody's ever seen that. Think of it. They killed 42,000 innocent, not weapon-carrying people for protesting. 42,000. And the number they say is a lot higher than that. There's a rough group, but we have decimated them. And their economy is a disaster. So we'll see how long they hold out. We'll see.
Mr. President, President Trump, Saudi Arabia is pulling the plug on Live Golf. Once that tour is gone, do you think the PGA Tour should welcome the defectors back with open arms?
Well, I do. It's a great question. In fact, if I had time, I'd love to watch television today because the PGA Tour is playing at Doral, the Cadillac Championship. And I said, who's winning? I don't get a chance. I can't even look at it.
Jordan Spieth was in the lead earlier.
Who is?
Jordan Spieth.
Oh, that's good. He's good. Great guy. Good putter, to put it mildly, right? He's a very great guy. Chipper putter. No, it's they're at my tournament right now, the PGA. In 2 weeks, Liv is going to be at my course right here on the Potomac. No, I'd love to see Liv, but I do believe that all of the golfers should be playing, the great golfers should be playing against each other. I do believe, you know, it's sort of, they were viewing something as a monopoly, but it's in a way, it should be the opposite of a monopoly. I want to see Rory playing Bryson DeChambeau. I want to see Big John Rahm playing Scotty, who's so great, right? Scotty Scheffler is great. And I want to see him play John Rahm and Bryson and all the different guys. They have great players on the Live. But it's almost like people want to see that. That's why the Masters was so good, because you saw everybody together. Patrick Reed played great. You know, he's on Live and he played great. And they all did. They all played. They're great players. I play with them. They're very good. When I think I'm a good player and then I play with them, I don't think I'm that good. You know? But there's something nice about all of the players playing together. Now they'll all be accepted by the tour. There's no question, because they're great. If they weren't, you know, but the tour really will. The tour wants to have the best player. You can't have the best player that they're boycotting. Now they may do something, you know, a little bit, but they'll all be back on tour and it'll be great. And you know, having one tour. Now I don't know that what's happening with Liv. I'm not sure what's happening with Liv, but they are playing in my course 2 weeks on the Potomac. Beautiful course. But right now they're playing at Doral, which I own. And if we end this early, I'll be able to watch for about 3 minutes before I get back onto the economy and every other subject that we have, including Iran. We're doing so well with Iran, so I think so.
I just want to follow up.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Jennifer Schonberger with Yahoo Finance. Question on clarification of the Trump IRAs versus a regular IRA.
Right.
Does it come down to the difference of the federal match? Who would qualify for that? And secondly, do you have any reaction to Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell staying on the Board of Governors? Were you prepared to take any action on that?
No, I don't care. If he stays on, he stays on. That doesn't. I just wanted to make sure that Kevin became the head. It's very unusual that they stay on. You know, I predicted he would, because you know who's going to hire him, frankly. So I predicted he would stay on, but you know, he's a negative. I think he's a negative force. The thing that angered me about him more than interest rates was the fact that he could allow a building to cost billions of dollars more than it was. I could have built that building. I could have renovated and fixed that building, which is what I do. I always did well with it, for $25 million. They're going to spend maybe $4 billion. It's not even close to being opened. You know, Kevin, who's going to be fantastic, I don't know if he's going to have an office. I'm going to have to put him right here. I'm going to give him that. We'll cut the oval in half. I'll give him half of the oval. No, it's, I think I'm very happy about Kevin. I think he's a star. And the other Kevin, we're going to talk to you. Could you answer her question?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question, and the match is a super important part of it, and it's one reason why we're calling on our friends here to potentially expand it so that right now the match is capped at $35,000, but there's a whole academic literature that this match has a big effect on people's willingness to save and their long-run welfare. And so the differences really are the match. We're creating the TrumpIRA.gov website, so it'll be really, really easy for people to have access to private companies that have to follow the TSP rules that are really low cost and so on, so that they'll get the best possible investment. And finally, you've noticed that Michael Dell has given money, promised money for the Trump accounts. We've also made it clear that in the Trump IRA, charities can contribute to other people's accounts.
And I imagine this will boost the stock market and economy further.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to mention phase 2? We're doing phase 1 today because I can do that without Congress, but phase 2 is going to be something that would be unbelievable. Do you want to just give a little summation? We'll be going back to Congress to ask for this.
Right, so the basic headline is that if you look at the huge success of Australia in their retirement savings accounts, that we're working with the Treasury Secretary, he and I, and Jason Smith and other members of Congress to come up with something that's pretty close or in the direction of the Australian system.
Or better.
Or better.
They had a couple of little glitches that we'll get rid of.
But there's absolutely no contemplation of harming Social Security in any way. This is meant to be an add-on for that.
It'll be very exciting. It's going to be great. We'll be pretty quick, pretty fast. We're going to move pretty fast.
Can I follow up?
Something that we talked about. Something that we talked about a couple weeks ago. There's all these missing scientists who had access to classified material. A bunch of them have turned up they're either missing or they have turned up dead. Have you been briefed yet about whether or not these cases are connected?
Yeah, I have.
And can you tell us if they are connected?
Well, so far, I mean, they're individual. We have a lot of scientists. So when you see, you put together 10. It's a lot, but it's, a very small number compared to what overall. We have a lot of scientists. I was asking that question, thousands, hundreds of thousands of scientists. So, some of them that we looked at are very sad cases in some cases.